This team is funny, guys. I mean, if you watch my last few post-game videos, it's just an up and down wave of emotions with going from excitement to depression to hype to embarrassment. These guys are just all over the place, man. However, I think what's becoming more and more clear to me is that this team, although incredibly inconsistent in so many facets of the game, that's the nature sometimes with a young team, and when you introduce a bunch of new guys into the lineup halfway through the season, obviously it's going to be hard to find any level of consistency, especially when you're operating in a season with guys being in and out of the lineup with COVID, namely Zach Lavine and their best players. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. I wouldn't necessarily say that this was an impressive win because the Bulls were playing against a pretty average team that is without two of their best players in Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball. They also didn't have Malik Monk out tonight as well, but the fact that the Bulls came out and smacked these guys right from the jump and never allowed the Hornets to make a run or even take the lead, and especially after the way the Bulls played last night, it was a good bounce back win. Not saying the game was perfect, but clearly a message was sent to these guys that you need to come out and compete. The hustle on defense was back, the quickness and pace on offense was there, and I mentioned before, like the game against the Celtics, you got to feed Vucevic in this game. You have to go to Vucevic anytime you're going up against a team that is weak at the center position, because Vuce will be able to eat all night against guys like Cody Zeller and PJ Washington, and Vuce certainly ate tonight. Not as much from a scoring perspective, although he did have 18 points compared to his single-digit scoring night last night, but more so the fact that the Hornets could not grab a rebound over this guy. Vucevic had 16 rebounds in total, not giving the Hornets many second chance opportunities. And on top of that, the one other thing that Vuce does incredibly well, for his size anyway and being a big man, is his ability to pass. He also had 6 assists tonight, also leading the team in assists, almost leading the team in assists, but then Sato nearly finished with 7 assists towards the end of the game. The Bulls still turned the ball over 16 times tonight, though. I wasn't too upset about it, obviously, because they were blowing the Hornets out most of the game. But the guys have to figure that out. They're not going to win these final games down the stretch against some of these stronger teams turning the ball over as frequently as they do. The two standouts tonight, though, aside from Vucevic, were Coby White and Thaddeus Young. Coby, although maybe not as effective on the facilitation front as he's normally been, only 3 assists tonight, but this was one of the most efficient games I have seen from Coby on offense. 18 points, shooting 7 for 10, 4 for 6 from 3, taking smart, higher percentage shots, letting the game come to him and not hoisting up contested shots in transition. On top of that, 0 turnovers for Coby White in this game. I think someone in the live chat before the start of the game had joked, how many turnovers do you think Coby is going to have tonight? And you had some guys saying, 4, 5, 6, but he was very careful with the ball and was playing very smart basketball. I've really been liking this side of Coby White recently. Again, just have to see this kind of performance being done consistently. Coby was plus 25 on the night. Just a great game for him. Then Thaddeus Young, I mean, talk about efficient on both ends of the floor. Not only was he doing his thing on defense and getting those 50-50 balls, hustling for those loose balls, but talk about being efficient on offense, shooting 8 for 10 from the field. He finished the game with 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Lauri, I mean, he was knocking down some threes, which is nice, but I would really love to see him take less of those and focus more on scoring in the paint. I've said that before. Again, he's a 7-footer and can tower over most guys on the court. And it's not like he's a scrawny 7-footer. No, he's a big dude. Get in there and eat like we see from Vucevic, or at least show us some of that work that you used to put in from your rookie season. 11 points and 4 rebounds for Lauri in 27 minutes. It's not terrible, but it's just not cutting it for a guy that we were expecting to be the Bulls' next big star a couple seasons ago. Also, I don't know why, but I found this stat line so funny. Denzel Valentine, in a game where the Bulls were up by more than 20 points for most of the second half, he plays 16 minutes, goes 1 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 6 from 3, and still manages to finish the game with a negative box plus minus in a game where the Bulls led for the entire game. I know there are still some Denzel lovers out there and they claim, he's the Bulls' best shooter, best playmaker. No, get out of here with that argument. I like and I admire Denzel's confidence, but come on now, this guy doesn't belong in the NBA, and I actually have no idea how he still gets this many minutes for the Bulls. Bulls. Aside from the individual performances though, I mean, I was very pleased the Bulls actually came out with a sense of urgency. You know, we're down to the final 14 games, well, now 13 games of the season, and you're right on that fringe of the play-in tournament. After tonight's win, you're now tied with the Raptors. You're just a half game back of the Wizards, and you're even only 3.5 games now back from the Hornets, since they have been falling recently without LaMelo and Hayward. So I was glad to see the guys come out with energy and grit, hustling on defense, because we saw none of that against the worst offensive team in the league in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And rather than the Bulls letting that embarrassing loss get to them, they came out ready to go, and they made up for that abysmal performance. And since Lavine has been out, the Bulls are now 3-2, so they're trying to hold down the fort while their star player is out, and hopefully Lavine will be back soon, although we still have not yet heard any kind of timeline yet for a return, which is still odd to me because they never announced whether he did in fact test positive or whether he came into close contact with someone who had COVID. It's all been very quiet, which makes it even more strange. But in any event, hopefully Lavine will be back in the next week or so and help the Bulls close out this season strong, because like I mentioned, the schedule isn't going to get any easier. The Bulls are going to be taking on the Heat in back-to-back games in Miami. They've got the Knicks, Bucks, Hawks, Sixers, the Celtics again, the Nets twice, another game against the Raptors. I mean, the end of this schedule is no joke, and all of the guys are going to have to be fully locked in and loaded and ready to go if they want to make one last push for the playoffs. There's no margin of error at this point. No slip-up losses against bad teams like we saw last night. No more coming out lethargic and playing with minimal effort on defense. If your shots aren't falling on offense, don't put your head down and get frustrated. Hustle back on defense, get a stop, and try it again. You've got to have a little more mental toughness to get through the end of the season, and that's what we've really seen from the Bulls so far, is they've struggled to be tough mentally. But anyway, it was good to see the Bulls grab a win. I know a lot of the folks in the tanking camp didn't like seeing this win, but guys, at the end of the day, the Bulls have won too many games to have a decent shot at the top 4 pick. And let's be real, even if the Bulls did quote-unquote tank and fall far in the standings, they likely would get unlucky anyway, and I'm not about seeing my team lose every night just to see them get unlucky in the draft lottery. It's already happened to us multiple times, although we did get lucky with Rose, but then again, we also got unlucky with his injury. So the moral is the Bulls aren't lucky when it comes to the draft lottery. I want to see my team win, and I want to see them at least try to be competitive anyway and actually care about winning basketball games. Anyway, I'll be back out with a video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Bulls are off tomorrow, and then they'll be taking on the Heat on Saturday. I'll have a live group chat for that game. Be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again, as always, guys, for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.